Good morning. Good morning, microfinance friends. Good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to another webinar within the series Leaders in Digital Era. I hope you are in high spirits as the spring is around and hopefully also the COVID crisis is withdrawing for many of us as well. In this series, Leaders in Digital Era, we try to tackle management issues in the context of digitalization in microfinance. And today we are going to talk about essentials for any manager. We are going to discuss how to lay down foundations that will cause that your team will not only perform the tasks, but actually they will work towards development of the MFI. So, my name is Ewa Bańkowska, and it's I have this unique pleasure to facilitate the webinars, this series of webinars for you. And we are hosting today a special guest, Tomasz, who is a former general manager of Intel for our region. He also worked as business development manager for MENA region. Today, he serves as a digital transformation expert in Poland and in Europe. And so, Tomasz, welcome. First of all, it's great to have you today with us.
Hello, everyone. Good morning.
I must say that when I started to work with Tomasz, I was really amazed by how quickly he gets into the shoes of MFI manager. So Tomasz has amazing experience in leading teams for innovation. So really take the opportunity to ask him questions, and Tomasz will share quite some experience today with us. Before we move on, let me traditionally introduce our kind donors. These series are financed by two donors: European Fund for Southeast Europe Development Facility, which is committed to building capacities of MFIs in our region, as well as European Investment Bank Institute, aiming at developing microfinance in Europe. So, big thanks to those two organizations. Before we really get to the topic, let me just say that let me invite you to visit our webpage to learn more about new edition of Bootcamp Labs. Check out our webpage to apply and to learn details. With this, let's go to our topic. As always, we will every now and then stop for questions, for comments, but as we go, feel free to ask questions or write down your comments in the chat. We will manage them at some point of the webinar, definitely. All right, so talking about empowering of the team. With this webinar, we want to send a message that there is a must for a change in management practices that we've known in order to embrace the change in how business is being done in digital era. There are certain must-haves. So the question is, what causes this enforced change? The digital transformation is about technology that allows processing large amounts of data, and these large amounts of data are on one hand can boost your business, but at the same time, to utilize this opportunity, you need to change the way you operate. So you need to think about new models of operations, about new ways to interact with clients, about new ways to communicate, to deliver your services. So you also need to have staff with new set of capacities, both in terms of knowledge, but also in terms of how they work. So you need to constantly adapt to constantly changing digital ecosystem. So there is so much novelty in reaching out to clients that simply you need to manage your people differently. And that's what we really want to talk about today. Today and on May 20th, because we are going to meet with Tomasz twice in May. Today we are discussing the first part about how to empower the team to grow and to apply agility in your organization, and on May 20th, how to stimulate the team for bringing in more innovation. Because I think that's my opinion. Innovation does not happen only by accident, but it can be in a way worked out. But that's my hypothesis to be checked with Tomasz. So Tomasz, now back to you. Welcome again, and let's start.
Okay, so let me start sharing my screen. I hope you can see this. So
Yes.
good morning once again. Thanks for the invitation, and this is really a pleasure to talk to such a diverse group of people, and I'm very glad that I can work with people in the region where I spent over 15 years of my career, because working at Intel and as the manager in charge of development of broad channel and distribution systems, I spent many years working with customers from Estonia down to Albania and Bulgaria. And particularly during my tenure, we were working a lot in the Balkan region. I reviewed a couple of web pages of the organizations you are coming from, and I found so many things which I remember from my time, and of course a lot of new things which developed since then. I had a great privilege in my career that I worked for one of the very mature organizations, and I also had an opportunity to develop myself working with a group of top professors from leading universities, business schools of the world, but also with many business practitioners, especially from US and Western Europe. What I was always trying to do as the manager, it was trying to combine and meld all of the theory with like a practice of managing people. And because my background is management and I work with technology, I was always trying to sit between these two worlds and to build bridges between these two worlds. And this is the reason why I focus right now on transformation. Because transformation very often currently is led by digital factors, initiated by digital factors, but still transformation is not about technology. It's about the way how organizations work and how managers work with people to enable the change in the organization. And so while reviewing the web pages of your companies, I realized that I think you face quite a big challenge, because from one side you are in the middle of a financial sector where with a fierce competition from big established financial institutions, which are going very quickly through digital transformation, which are becoming more efficient, but they not always maintain the best customer experience, and they do not create the best customer relationships. So clearly your mission and your aspirations go towards providing unique experience and unique support for your customers. And this can only be possible if you put together a great organization, and the human touch. And to really offer and to make sure that you are offering this human touch while delivering your products and services, I think you need to think about creating an environment in which managers and employees in perfect harmony work together to create the value for your customers. And I would like to carry you and to guide you through the short presentation, and I would like to tell you, in fact, my story of management, present my management philosophy, and I hope it will be also useful for realities of your work. So first of all, if we take a look at changeable organization, right? We need to have the changeable organization because we need to be able to adapt to the changing environment. And the change is really fast. It's fast due to the development of the economy, that the changes are fast due to all of the crises we are going through, that the change is fast due to the technology pressure, and also due to the fact that right now we really experience the shift in demographics with a number of people with very different backgrounds, with different generations working together. So what are the attributes of changeable organization? How such organization looks like? So first of all, it needs to be based on empowerment of team members. And empowerment of team members requires shift to responsibility to the bottom of the organization. The employees need to feel comfort of taking risk and making decision. And they need to take initiative. You can't force them. You can't tell them that they are empowered. There is a saying we just commonly know: empowerment can't be given; it must be taken. And this is one of the foundation of the good management. The other thing is to have control of strategic direction, because well, we have right now quite a lot of discussion about agility, about being very adaptable. But while doing so, the organization needs to keep its strategic direction. It needs to follow its polar star, to stay at the mission, to stay at the target, and to be able to navigate through these turbulent waters of the transformation and the changes in the environment. And this requires two things. First of all, managers and employees need to trust the leadership, because well, times are tough, and it's not always very obvious how the organization should be developed, where should it go, how to tackle the most important and the biggest challenges the organization faces. So having the trust, people also, because they are empowered, or at least we want them to be empowered, so they need to understand the business directions and the trajectory, because to big extent, they need to write and they need to co-drive the change with the management, with the rest of the teams. And it is important that they understand where they are going, because sometimes when they lose the sense of direction, they may still row hard, but the boat is not going to go where it is supposed to go. And there is a great saying from Kenichi Ohame, who said, rowing harder doesn't help if the boat is headed in the wrong direction. And very often in my management career, I've seen managers and teams which were working very, very hard, but because of some in some situations, they were losing the sense of direction, and they were like going off the trajectory they should stay off, creating a lot of disappointment, a lot of negative emotions among the people who really were working hard, but the results were not where they're supposed to be. The other critical element is readiness of middle management to support the change, because middle manager is absolutely fundamental element of the organization. However, right now middle management is on a squeeze, which comes from two directions. First of all, the development of management techniques, technology allows organizations to be more flat, which creates the pressure on the spans, and also the size of management, including middle management, is decreasing. At the same time, the pace of the change requires from managers to really be on the cutting edge of the change, to really be to really drive the change, not to be the change laggards. And basically, every middle manager right now needs to understand that the choice is at the manager. If the manager wants to be part of the solution, because if not, the manager is part of the problem. And there is a great reading about the role of middle managers in McKinsey. You can follow this. Later on. The last attribute of the changeable organization is innovativeness, but we are not going to go into this today. We will be talking about it in our next meeting. So how the managers should really work. Managers should be like a pianist playing on the piano. And basically, the managers have plenty of techniques, tools, practices to select from. And they should, in very conscious and well-organized to use all of the techniques to achieve their goals. Imagine the manager who uses just a very narrow, limited share of tools, and compare this to the pianist. It would be like a pianist hitting two keys again and again and again. This is not going to be beautiful music. And the same with managers. Managers need to understand the whole portfolio of techniques, the whole portfolio of tools, and they need to consciously and carefully select the ones which really create harmonious system. And it is really about the systemic approach, because you may have trainings, you may have development going very narrowly and very deep. It helps in some cases, but I'm the great supporter of the systemic approach, which says the manager needs to understand the big picture, needs to understand how the whole organization works, how people work in the organization, and then in the appropriate way should allocate the focus on the specific areas. And I put these areas here, and while probably working with teams and individuals is not the brainer, however, if you take a look at training practice, majority of trainings are focused on developing individual skills. In my opinion, this is not sufficient. It's needed, but not sufficient. In my opinion, a lot of focus should go to development of teams, because people work in teams. And working as the team is different than working as an individual or a set of individuals loosely put together. The other element where managers need to excel is the understanding and the clarity of the strategy. And these two are like absolutely necessary to partner with execution and efficiency, because every organization has its obligation towards shareholders, towards customers, towards employees, and all of these groups expect that the organization will deliver to its promises. Means organization needs to be efficient and needs to execute at its best. Then to do this, also the foundational level needs to be in place. And in this foundational level, there are three very important areas managers should focus on. This is the development of the culture. It's not going to be HR, it's not going to be higher management who is going to develop the culture. We are developing the culture while we are doing our work, while we are managing our teams. There is this element of the innovation, which is like this forward-looking approach with a focus on improving the way how we work and growing the value which we deliver to customers. And all of this needs to be based on collaboration. It's not about one team. It's about the whole organization. It's about the whole ecosystem. I was working in the environment where, you know, Intel produces CPUs or silicon chips, and they are offered in computer systems to offer all of the value of digital technology. So from the whole system which operates, for example, in the financial institution, to the isolated chip, there is a long value chain. And I had to work across the whole ecosystem, and I really understood and I really practiced the value of the collaboration, which is going through organization, through value chain, through the ecosystem. And one of my favorite quotes, which one of my colleagues was always using about the systemic approach, is a plane is more than a bag of parts flying in a close formation. And it is really important for the manager to understand that all of these elements, they need to be put in action wisely as the whole system. When you need the deeper dive, you go to specialists regarding the strategy, regarding coaching, for example, regarding execution, regarding structured problem solving, whatever is needed. But as the manager, you are the masters of that game, and you need to look at the big picture and efficiently manage the whole big picture. So how to create, from that static perspective, how to create the system which really allows the manager to be in control and to have appropriate influence to make people happy and deliver results. And I have created for myself such a roadmap for developing the capable, adaptable organization. And at the very foundation, there is trust and engagement. This is the place where we need to start. Then, if we have people who, with good motivation and openly want to engage themselves, they need to understand what needs to be done. So we need to be able to delegate to them the goals, the means of doing work, the procedures, and we need to create the whole framework, helping them to understand what they should do, where they should go, and where they are. Of course, the critical element to make this happen is the whole communication. And of course, to do this right, there is needed this focus on efficiency. However, I understand that working in well-established organizations, you have a lot of focus on efficiency. I understand after discussions with Eva that you've spent quite a lot of time talking about the efficient communication between different layers of organization and different target groups. So today, I would like to focus on this element of delegation. And this element of delegation, I have split into the following elements. First of all, it's about internalization of the strategy. Second is about the goals clarity. And the third element is commander's intent. And I will explain the whole system, starting from trust and engagement, and then we will go towards strategy, goals clarity, and commander's intent. And maybe let's go to the pool first. Yes. And I would like to ask you the question, because I think we also skipped the first pool. But let's focus at the second one. And I would like you to reflect a while, and then to say, where, as the managers, do you allocate majority of your attention?
Mm-hmm. Yes, so the poll is on your screen. You can start, please start voting. We will keep it for the few seconds so that you can vote. And let me just say that when we look at, we might have the feeling that everything is okay with my strategy. That we set clear goals and clear objectives. Because indeed, in many MFIs, these are well established systems, but stay with us because we are really going to expand. We are going to expand those issues to give it a new angle, a new perspective. So stay with us as we are going really to go deeper into those topics from this change perspective. Meantime, we are still voting. Just give us a few more seconds to collect all votes. So the question is simply, where do you allocate majority of your attention as a manager? And you can select as many answers as are relevant for you. Let's just, we have almost 70% of all of us gathered, voted. Still some people are voting, so few more seconds. And I think we can end.
Okay, so
we
are approaching.
Stop.
We are approaching 80%. So I may provide a bit of comments to this, and maybe Eva, if you can also afterwards put on the screen the first poll, and we will also reflect this. Where do you allocate your attention to the areas where your organization is strong? But looking at the pictures of your looking at the picture of your answers, I'm very glad that you allocate quite a lot of time to building trust and engagement. That's really, really important, because this is the foundation of the efficient and changeable organization. However, as you can see, there are some areas where you allocate less time. This is building capability of handling exceptions in operational procedures. So basically, if you really trust people, I would expect that you also allow them to handle some exceptions in the proper way, right? Based on the values, in line with the most important principles how the organization is run. But basically, if we trust them, we need to demonstrate that we trust them. Then there are two areas. So where basically explaining the strategy and setting goals, I'm explaining strategy is where I expected this to be very honest, and I think this is the area which we'll be exploring more, because it has its value. I'm a bit surprised that as the managers you haven't allocated quite a lot of attention into setting goals, because basically from a perspective of the being efficient manager, setting clear goals and expectations is one of the foundations. Because if we trust people, we give them we create the environment for taking the empowerment, taking the delegation. If we expect them to take the delegation, they need to have clear goals and they need to understand the strategy. If this happens, we may trust that they will be properly doing the work, including handling exceptions. And of course, to make this done, we need great communication, and we need the focus on the efficiency, which is absolutely obvious thing. So later on, we'll go through foundations for and connections between these areas. But Eva, if you could also pull the first poll on the screen, where is your organization really strong? Where do you believe, from perspective of managing, from perspective of building the capable teams, where your organization is really strong?
So once again, the poll is on your screen. This time, just 4 possible answers. Let us know where do you feel your organization is really strong in. So we have a few more seconds to vote. And we have 50% of us gathered here have voted. A few more seconds and we will have results. Let's okay, I think I will. All right, I'm closing the poll and sharing the results. So here come the results.
So let me let me provide you with a couple of comments. So it's great to see that you see encouragement for and support for innovation. That is very important, especially in the industry you are in. If you haven't been doing so, you would feel a lot of pain and a lot of pressure from your competitors. So that is great. And the next meeting, which we are going to have later in the month, will be focused on how to make the whole innovation stronger, how to make the internal processes supporting the innovation healthier. What is also good, or what is good? I believe that the training we are having, which is about the developing potential of middle management for implementing the change and driving change. So it is important because this is the key focus of our training, right? So I hope that you will find a couple of things useful, and you will be able to use it later on in your daily business life. Embracing market change in the strategy. That is important thing, right? And this is about this trust in leadership, but this is also about managing the overall strategic shift. The next meeting will also touch this element a little bit. But as you can see, the elements which we put at the table at the very beginning, right? This potential and capability of middle management to drive the change. And also the elements of combination of the strategy, goals, trust, they are well reflected, or their importance is well reflected in the answers which you shared with us. Okay, so let's go further, and let's take a look at how to build trust. Which practices I found useful for this, and how to build the whole system from trust, strategy, goals clarity, commander's intent, communication, and efficiency. Okay, so let me move forward. So trust and engagement foundations. Some of you may heard or read the articles and the books of Lencioni, Patrick Lencioni, regarding 5 dysfunctions of a team. And basically, he described that there are 2 critical dimensions of every organization. One dimension is about building organization which is smart. The other is about organization which is healthy. And the first one, this is no brainer for anyone, right? The smart organization needs to have the strategy, appropriate control of financial performance, focus on technology, to stay in line or ahead of competition, and to have efficient delivery of the value to the market, communication, marketing. So this is what everybody does. However, Lencioni described very carefully and with a great degree of details that organization, to be efficient, needs to be healthy and needs to create the balance between the focus on smart and focus on healthy. And within healthy, he put the following things. First of all, the healthy organization doesn't have politics, or actually negative politics, because politics as what is the definition of politics? These are the activities which are focused on changing the way how others behave to achieve some goals. And basically, politics by itself is not wrong. What is wrong is if people try to achieve goals which are not connected to the company strategy, which are not connected to the company value systems, and which are not connected to value systems of the others around, from perspective of groups, from perspective of society, from perspective of customers. So the healthy organization should limit internal politics which is not aligned with the mission and values which company strives to. The second thing is clarity. If people do not understand what the company really wants, how some things are really done, how the key activities are structured in the way they are structured, if they perceive some conflicts in between different sets of activities, it doesn't help them to trust such organization and then to engage with such team, with such organization. Third element is high morale from perspective of standards, then efficiency and low attrition. Actually, low attrition to big extent is the function of the whole list above. And to give you the reference, organization I worked with, we had attrition at the level of 2%, which is very low. In fact, it's sometimes 2% is sometimes below what is healthy. But with exception of couple of areas where we live in organizations with a high level of attrition, with a high level of personnel rotation, it's good to manage the organization in the way to keep attrition, to keep rotation under control. If you don't do this, it creates a lot of negative effects from perspective of the health of organization, which will later on impact a bunch of things. So going to the next slide, Lencioni he actually formulated the 5 dysfunctions of the team, and they were like lack of trust, negative approach to conflict. I found it not very useful because basically it's better if you talk to employees and about building trust, not about avoiding lack of trust. So I created this bottle half full perspective, and I said, and when I work with my team, we're starting from, first of all, building trust. And what does it mean? We were openly discuss a lot of things, showing our weaknesses, showing our dilemmas, and really building this sense of belonging and sense of dependency, but the positive dependency. And before we'll go to the other, I would like you to take 2 minutes of your time and to write down on a piece of paper, or at least think of several specific things you've done with your team to develop trust and engagement. Because this is really the first element where each and every manager should start. And this is the element which is really foundational for everything else. And I understand you may have different people. I understand they are coming with very often different motivations, different agendas, and very often with experiences which are negative, and overcoming of these experiences is difficult for them to open and to build that, to be part of the trustful environment. But this is really the area where I would strongly recommend everyone to start with.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's have those 2 minutes now to reflect. So you may want to reflect on a piece of paper, just write it down for yourself, or you are more than welcome to share it in the chat. Like, what do you do exactly to develop the trust and engagement in your team, especially that we saw in the poll that actually it's quite high among in the results. So it means that you have quite some experience here. So please write down for yourself or in the chat how exactly you develop the trust and engagement. And Tomasz, that's also something we've been talking about, that positive approach to conflict and trust it will vary from country to country, but we also know that especially in our region, it's how to say it nicely, maybe a bit underdeveloped. So if at some point you can also comment, I mean, we will see the tools as well, but if you may comment at some point, that would be great. And again, to all of you participating, feel free to share your experience, how you build trust in the chat.
Okay, so while you're writing, I may comment on this positive approach to conflict. So first of all, it really depends on the organization and the culture, because basically you have the organizations which are very hierarchic, and then that's very often these type of organizations do not see the value in conflict. However, we need to properly define what the conflict is, because conflict is not the open war, right? Conflict is about exchange of opinions, is about discussion. It's about having different approaches, but still committing to the joint decision. And if you achieve this this level, that your people are not afraid to raise their voice, that they are happy to, and you are happy to listen to them, but when as the team you spend some time on discussion, you create the foundations for decision. If decision and when decision is done, everybody commits to it. And the openness for or readiness for this positive conflict and this positive approach to conflict can vary generation to generation, culture to culture. And clearly American culture is very much focused on it, and this is what Lencioni describes. But we can also take a little bit we can take a bit of effort to make one more step to make this environment more open for the discussion. When we have this foundation of trust and openness, and people are not afraid to rely on others, they if they believe that their opinion counts, then we may expect the engagement. So they are ready to act. They are ready to take extra effort when needed. But then there are two things which are critical. So first of all, they need to understand what to do, and clarity of attitude, behaviors, and results is absolutely a must. And second thing, when they are ready to engage, they need to also understand, and they need to also leave to accountability. They need to understand that engagement needs to be paired with responsibility. And again, everybody has a right to make mistakes, and everybody needs to get a lot of support afterwards and help to avoid them in the future. But people shouldn't be punished, but they should feel responsible for the results. And when they put all of their enthusiasm, they need to be also properly paired, linked, and teamed with accountability. And then we may expect the positive results. And in the organizations which are focused on the results, mutual help is a norm, openness is a norm, alignment to goals, understanding of the organization, they are the norms. So let's move further. And of course, to build such a system, you require it's not enough to spend 30 minutes talking about it. You need to implement a lot of activities, and this is one of the reasons why we asked you to write down what you've already done for this. But you may also think about activities which I put here in the table, and these are the activities which I was doing with many teams. So first of all, to build this foundation for trust, it is important to create this element of common values, because values may differ because of personal reasons, because of the culture, because of education, because of the company culture. So to have the same understanding of the basic values, what's important, it's very, very well, it's a critical thing. I will show you an example later on. The second thing is some focus on empathy and emotional intelligence. We are not going to talk about this, but I would like to leave you with just one comment. A lot of people, for communication and for emotional intelligence, applies so-called golden rule. So don't do to others what you don't like others to do to you. That's very wrong, because this saying assumes that everyone is like me. I don't do to others what I don't like others doing to me, while I should be doing to others what they expect, what their communication style expects, what their empathy needs, what their emotions need. So communication needs to be fitted to the receiver of the communication, not should reflect only the perspective of the people, of the manager, or the person communicating. Then, of course, there is the whole notion regarding coaching, and this is also useful. And with the empowerment, there is very important level of management democratization. And there are the tools and the processes, and I will give you a couple of examples later on, which are focused on this. One is fair process management, and the other one is grassroots leadership, which emerges and comes from a book which I will show you in a while. So I've been doing all of this, and after doing the whole set of these activities, it was easier for me to really think and to work on the whole system, not only focusing on the few specific areas.
Let me just, Tomasz, let me just add here one thing, because in terms of communication styles, there are plenty of tests available, both paid and unpaid, and I just shared in the chat just an example of how simple you can do a test for your team for communication and kind of teamwork assessment. But there is much more available, and you can explore really different types of them.
It also helps the team to understand that within the team there are people with different communicational styles. So the focus on communicational styles is a must for a manager, but it's also very useful for employees, and people usually value a lot when they participate in this type of activities, because it gives them more insight also into the way how they think, how they act, And sometimes people do not have a lot of time and help in this reflection process, how I work with others or how I behave while working with others. So going for tools which help with engagement. There is a great article, and the link is at the bottom. Fair process managing in the knowledge economy, which describes something which is called fair process management. This has been really practiced, and this has been actually described looking at two factories in the same company, when one was providing great results and the other was always lagging behind. And after the research, these professors from Harvard and INSEAD, they put together this system. And what they say? So first of all, they say that the foundation for fair process management is the element of value creation. That people should feel responsibility for creating the value for the company, for the customers. And this is really natural, and this tendency to create the value is a natural human thing. So it's easy to call to this because we feel comfortable when we believe we do right things which create the value. The other element, which is very, very deeply rooted into our internal motivations, is the element of fairness. And everyone understands this. If we treat somebody fairly, the person knows it's fair or not. You take a look at the small kids, they understand fairness as probably one of the first concepts of interactions between people. So when we have the focus on, and when we reinforce that in our activities, we would like to understand people's values, would like to focus on value creation. So working in the way that is well received, creates positive results, helps to grow customers, helps to grow organization, helps to grow shareholders. So this element of value creation and a sense of value creation is critical. Then fairness. Then this constitutes the foundation for trust and respect. Of course, we need to share this among employees. So there is this element of building the common layer and sharing the values, sharing the discussions about fairness, trust, and respect. Next thing is role modeling from managers, right? We need to do what we say. And if we talk about openness, we need to be open. If we talk about our ability to show our vulnerability, we need to show this also to our employees. Manager, well, it's not necessary to show that manager always knows and the manager always makes everything perfectly. It creates a lot of positive energy within the team if you ask the team for help, if you admit some hesitations, if you admit you need others to do something because they are better at this. Next element is which comes is engagement, and again, which clarity of goals and expectations. There can be the best engagement, the best motivation. People need to know where they should go. Rowing harder doesn't help if the boat is headed in the wrong direction. So in this fair process management, the focus, take a look at the right-hand side of the screen. The focus is on creating this foundation of fair process. Then it's about creating an environment where people believe that they may raise their opinion, creating the environment where they will go beyond the call of duty. So if anything needs to be done additionally, if any exception needs to be handled with a little bit of additional effort, but it is with good intent for a good reasons to create the value, they will go for this. And then we create the organization where the initiatives come from people, and people want to exceed expectations. They want to create a value. They want to do more. They want to do this because they feel it's right. They want to do this because they feel they create the value. So, and I was sharing this with people. I was discussing this with my team with a very, very positive feedback from them. The other...
Tomasz, because there was a question earlier in the chat, and I'm also wondering, because like having employees that team members that exceed expectations, that's a dream situation. Or ideal situation. So just my question is like, what's the balance between building this trust, letting people do their job, and sort of monitoring and especially auditing what they do, because you know, like where is the balance simply?
So we'll be going to this in a while when we'll be talking about the strategy, goals, clarity, and the other things. So
okay,
I will show this. If I do not answer this, we will have a couple of minutes at the end to discuss it. However, there is no conflict between measuring, evaluating, and giving trust. If we are open, to each other, we are open, right? And we need to know where we are going. We can't say to people, you do not have goals, you do not have KPIs, measurements, you are like a pilots flying blind, but you are responsible for passengers, for the plane, right? How come? People should understand that it is that results and KPIs and measuring what we do is like being a pilot and sitting at the consoles and basically reading what's going on from all of the meters, right? So measuring is absolutely critical element of knowing where we go. And it's the same important for employee like for manager. And if we work constantly on this regularly, not at the end of the quarter, not at the end of the year, but in the course of the year, we can navigate, we can do a lot of things, right? So I can see value from measuring, and actually there is a saying, you can't manage what you can't measure. And basically, it shows this element that measuring things creates value and create comfort for employees, helping them to understand where they are and what they do and how they do. So that's my short, maybe not so short answer to it. So the other tool which I really love, right? It is I met the guy personally. He was the commander of U.S. Navy. His name is Michael Abrashov. He got the worst destroyer with the worst performance in the Navy, and in the course of 2 years, he created with the same crew the best ship in the Navy, and he described the values, the process, and how he made it. He described this in this book, It's Your Ship. Basically, later on, he created kind of the practice for management, which is called grassroots leadership, which really comes from empowerment people. He was coming to to every mate, to every sailor, asking, okay, man, it's your ship. What would you do? And they are coming with ideas how to improve many things, from the way how sailors were dressed, to the way how the ship was painted, to the way how many operational procedures worked. And it helped to create, with the same crew, from the worst performance to the path to the best performance. The values and the rules he put in place, and he was really focusing on, are in this gray box on the left hand side. Lead by example, communicate purpose and meaning, and you can see this again and again. Create climate of trust, look for results, not salutes, improve people's quality of life, take calculated risks, go beyond standard operating procedure if it creates value, listen aggressively. So listen, and do not assume, put a lot of energy into listening. Strengthen others, so work through others. It's not about the commanders, it's about sailors. Generate unity. At Intel, we developed a very efficient and powerful tool, however, very, very difficult in implementation and also hard to handle by managers, because we created 180 questions to these bullets in the box. A team was answering about the manager, if the manager was doing, how the manager was doing. Later on, team discussed this. So performance of the manager to these values openly in the group. And then with the help of facilitator, either from HR or from more senior management, they were delivering this to the manager. And it's hard. Your team comes to you saying, okay, here you do well, but here not. Here you need to improve. Here you need to do this and that. I was listening to this. I was taking a couple of things, and I was always making like an agreement with the team. This is what I'm going to focus. Let's reconvene in a year from now. We will go through the process again. We'll go through 80 questions, 180 questions again, and you will tell me if I did better on this or not. Very powerful tool. However, really difficult. And I met managers who said it's really difficult. They don't want to do this.
It sounds like really difficult, indeed, really hard exercise, and only for bold managers who are ready to change depending on the feedback of their staff.
But my recommendation is, don't be afraid of open feedback from your staff. It will make you stronger. It's not going to expose your weaknesses. People behind your back are talking about them anyway. It's better that they talk about it in the constructive manner and in the way that you can make something with this. And this will make you by far more stronger, not only because you will improve, but the trust you create by going through the whole process is absolutely enormous. And in one organizations where I was implementing this, they developed for each and every person, they gave this little ship, right? So they gave it to every employee to keep helping them to keep in mind that this is their ship, right? Here is the name of the company. Right? So everyone had that ship on the desk. It's your ship, and I do recommend you to read the book. The book is great for reading. So even if you were not managers, I would recommend this. But for managers, must read. And how I put all this in action, and at Intel I put it in action in the way that we were gathering as the team. I made as the prerequisite so-called value sharing session. So we were discussing and people were talking. For me, it is important to be on time. For me, it is important to be polite. For me, it is important to have fun. And people were talking about their values. And they were like more aligning beyond the company value system. And then as the team, everybody took a couple of pieces of paper, a couple of stickers, and we were writing what I want others to do more, what I want others to do less. Everybody was doing like, let's say 5 stickers, 5 pieces of paper, and then people were placing these stickers on the wall randomly. Then as the group we were coming to that wall, and we were grouping these stickers in more cohesive groups. So about, let's say, efficiency, about discipline, about communication, about lack of politics. And later on, we were analyzing this in the smaller groups, defining conclusions, And managers or a manager, based on this, we were selecting few priorities. And after some time, after a couple of months, usually 3 to 6 months, we were showing the team what we've done about the feedback they shared with us. So the results from this session: multi-directional, open and honest employee feedback, a great opportunity for managers to understand the pains of their teams and organization. And finally, we turn this into yearly regular process. Here you have the example how we were doing this, and look where people were putting, where the pain points. On communication, honesty, hiding things, politics. It was number one. Number two, work-life balance. Number three, delivering to commitments, discipline, being late, the quality of things which people delivered. The fourth one, respect. Relation between managers, more senior, or generally between people. And you may say, well, some of these comments were maybe not so positive. Yeah, they were not. But people honestly put them on the table, put them on the wall. And we asked the team, because it is not only to management, right? The conclusions were the same important for each and every employee. Because the comments about commitments, discipline, communication were to the same, or there were 50 people in the room, right? So basically it was to everyone. So it was not only about managers receiving feedback, it was about all employees receiving feedback. And all employees took collective responsibility for improving these things. And managers were just the shepherds of the whole effort. So it was not that the honesty is about managers to work on honesty of the team. No, it's about team working on honesty and managers making sure that they reinforce and help people to work on that.
Tomasz, we are really getting nice comments from participants. That one of the comment is that all those exercises, including the previous one, the hard one about the feedback from managers, but all these type of exercises, you as a manager, you need to you should do it only when you are committing to take actions based on the results. That's really, it's not just for fun or team building. It's really for with the commitment that you will implement certain actions after the workshop. One more reflection I have while listening to you, Tomasz, is that as a manager, we really need to spend more time, not only on tasks, on managing, but also talking with employees. I think it's, at least in my mind, I underestimate the amount of time we need to spend with our team members, really to talk, to create this atmosphere.
Absolutely. So yeah, communication. Absolutely, yes. Okay, so let me go through this delegation toolkit, and here I will try to be relatively brief and relatively quick, because we are approaching like the end of the time which we allocated. So first of all, the strategy of the company is not for the management. The strategy of the company is for people, and this is the tool, and this is the actual slide which I used to communicate strategy to my team. It took me maybe in some cases like 7 meetings a year until people really understood this, and I was giving prizes for people who could first of all say, what is the strategy, what is this book, but what is the purpose and the strategy of my team. It really took me 2 or 3 quarters until everybody did it. Then I was asking, okay, what are the specific actions which you, as the person in your team, do? The strategic actions, not the daily activities. Tell me the strategic actions. Tell me, how are you really contributing to the strategy, to the big market shift, to what's going on. It again took people long time to be able to properly articulate what is important to do. Then how we why can we afford this? So why we are doing this? So what are the strengths? And then how we also communicate about it, because it is impossible to talk with the company jargon to external market. You need to communicate to the market in the way which is relevant from perspective of those who listen, not those who communicate. So I used this tool to communicate the strategy, and I was spending a lot of time with the team, helping them to understand what we are about, purpose and strategy, how we do this, why we do this, and how we talk about this. So that's the one. The second thing, everybody knows this, right? SMART goals: specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, time-bound or time-based. And goals are very often the fabric of the management by objectives fabric, right? So we use goals to manage performance. It's not equal to compensation. I know organizations which have MBOs but do not connect this to compensation. Or literally, so it's not that 120% of MBOs means 120% of commission. Right? So it influences how people are compensated, but this is the manager judgment at the end. Then if goals are set as compensation variable, we need to be very careful, because first of all, people will be sandbagging. They don't want to take stretch goals. We want them to take some stretch goals, but this needs to be well balanced. And every time this needs to be based on the fairness. So that is, if you have the goals as the variable for compensation, be very, very careful how you manage this, because this may very quickly create some distrust. It can be done, and it's usually done, but it requires some focus from the manager. Then the goals needs to be set in the way that it creates synergy between the goals focused on personal development of the employee, team directions, and performance of the whole organization. And it is also very important to focus the goals on results wherever possible, and to limit number of goals which are connected to activities. And here we have the last poll which we have, which is where do you put, when you set the goals for your team, how do you where do you allocate the most focus? So
yes, so please go. I just put the link to the poll in the chat, because it's a bit more complicated. So please click the link and follow it and answer the question that is there, and I will shortly share the results. So yeah, so please.
So what we would like to understand is how much percentage of the goals are connected to, let's say, company goals, how much you focus on team goals and team development, and how much with the goals you focus on personal development. And there are different approaches here, because first of all, I believe that people should have the goals in these three categories. However, you may compensate people only on the KPIs which are more connected to hard company goals. That's fine. But people should understand that delivering to team goals and to personal development goals is important, because it strengthens them, it strengthens the team. It makes the whole organization stronger. So it is needed. You just can't focus on harvesting when you do not seed. When you do not focus on growing people, you can't expect them to deliver. So there must be the balance between these three areas. So Eva, have we got the results?
Yes. So Tomasz, I will share the screen. Stop.
Okay.
So I stopped. Share. Stopped. Can you see my screen simply now?
Yes, we can.
With the results. So we have 12 answers, and that's the split of the points. Can you see it, Tomasz?
Yes, I can. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the other screen because I'm working on two screens now. What is the share of the execution oriented? And that's fine, right? Execution oriented goals should be majority, like 60, 80%. It depends on the employee. But it is important that you have also the goals from the other categories. So the goals for the team written from perspective of the team and the goals from perspective of personal development. So let me go back to
your presentation.
Let me.
So you need to share it again, unfortunately.
Yes. I'm going to this. It should be on your screens.
Yes.
Okay. So talking about goals accountability, I would like to share with you a couple of observations. So first of all, very often we just waterfall the corporate goals or branch goals to all employees. There is some logic for this. So you create kind of the team unity because everybody works on the same goal. However, it can be dangerous. So I would be I was always trying to achieve the balance between the goals which were kind of the team goals and the goals which were individual. First challenge is that if we take a look at the very big goal set for the whole branch or country or region, it's like an elephant, and each and every employee doesn't have the influence from perspective of the whole branch, the whole country. Their influence is by far smaller. So first of all, we need to feed the goals to their scope of responsibility. And it means that they should focus on some specific areas, and they should not and the way of splitting this is not just making it smaller. So it's not just making it if we have 10 employees and the goal is 100%, is 10%. The elephant is not the sum of small elephants. So there are the employees and there are the teams which need to focus on some element. There are other teams which need to focus on the other elements. So the most important element is to translate, reformulate the goals to enable accountability. So the goals need to be fitted to potential of the role, resources allocated to this, and seniority of the employee. And the division can be also functional from perspective of time periods, parts, stages, and milestones. So probably that's all clear to you, but I would like to reinforce that this element that think of this, that you first of all, you should not throw too big goals with small influence to people. Secondly, you should think that the elephant is not some of small, so they should be reformulated. And thirdly, if it happens, then this allows this accountability because people feel that they have influence, right? If they feel they have influence, they can do something about it. So they can take the risk to do more. If this is so big, so out of control, they won't do anything, because if there is no difference if they deliver 110% of what they can or 90%. The difference from perspective of the whole big bucket will be neglectable. So make sure that you make this specific to people. The last element is understanding of something which is called commander's intent. This has been this is a cornerstone of empowerment. The concept has been developed in the Prussian army by Marshal Helmut von Moltke, and basically he came from the following assumptions. In the battle, there are so many things going on that units can't be controlled from the commander's level. The control needs to be allocated within the teams, in the ground, at the ground. So subordinates should use their own initiative and self judgment, but activities should be aligned with the understanding of the objectives set by higher level of commanders, and should be based on, and that's critical element, commonly established and practiced rules of operation. So we need to understand, so when people are doing something, they should know how to do this, why are they doing this, and how to this others will react. So here is the application in business, but I would like to help you understanding the whole concept. I will show you one quote. That's the sport quote, but it's a very, very good one. It's Lewandowski, you probably know him, a Polish football player, relatively good one. And he said, and there was a discussion how often they should change the tactics during the game. And he said, whether we play 3 or 4 defenders, it will not be a problem. It can change during the game. During the game, he often changes tactics 4 times. But what is important, it's the good player will find himself in every system. It's about clarity of the message, separation of the tasks, and this is a critical element from perspective of understanding commander's command. Certainty that if someone does something on the pitch, a teammate reacts accordingly. We work as the team, right? So if we do something, if we take a risk as an employee, if we handle an exception, we want our employees to solve customers' problems. Sometimes they are not standard. So if employee takes a risk to handle an exception, they must know that their teammates will react accordingly, helping the person to handle the exception with the whole spirit of value creation in line with procedures, in line with the high value standards. And this element, this is like you have a fish school, right? And the fish go one direction, and fish do not communicate to each other when they turn left on the right. The whole fish school goes left, right, up and down simultaneously in perfect harmony. And this is the commander's intent in real life, in business as well. People take the decisions, and the organization, because they understand how these decisions should be taken, how managers, others would react to this, so they feel comfortable to take that to take that risk and to act in the way which is right for the given situation, and also knowing that the organization will handle the way how they act. Okay, so we are a bit of behind the time, so just the last slide. How do you check that you have the good level of trust? How do you check that the whole system, this the systemic approach, that this really works? And I've developed for you and modified a couple of things, and I have done myself, and I experienced myself. The short org pulse quarterly check. You may give it to employees, and they may answer the questions. You may take a look at these questions, at the answers. In the perfect environment, they should be confidential, and you may discuss this also with the managers. If this is implemented across the organization, you can see how the whole organization works. And so take a look at the questions. There are the goals about clarity. There are the goals about having an influence, so having an ability to do something, to take the risk. It is about support from the manager. It's about listening. It's about developing skills, recognizing people, but also the quality of the collaboration within the team. So I would like to leave you with this, and I would like to really encourage you to implement something like this, or this approach in your organization, not only as the single isolated manager, but at least in the bigger team.
Mm-hmm. Let me just say here that regarding this one exercise, as well as previous exercise that was presented, at MFC, we are happy to help you out with setting the process in your organization and providing assistance in delivering it to your members. So I will share later on more in a follow-up email, but just want to let you know that we are happy to assist you in preparing and planning the whole process of implementing those exercises.
So the quick summary: in the changeable world, managers need to be really focused on driving change and navigating through turbulent waters. It is the good saying, only the paranoid survives. This is actually the title of the book written by Andy Grove, one of the Intel founders. He was a really management guru. Some time ago, he passed away now. But his approach with this obsession regarding the change was absolutely great, and many companies still follow it. Then you are the manager, right? If you are the manager, and manager is like a pianist. You don't use the same technique, because using the same technique is like hitting the same key. The whole manager plays the whole keyboard. So the systemic approach is absolutely a must for manager if you would like to have balanced management toolkit and balanced management approach, and also if you would like to be efficient. Trust is the foundation for engagement. Trust is the place to start. However, you can't do everything only in area of trust and engagement, because then you will be with people who are motivated but maybe clueless. To have the good combination of control over strategic direction, execution to the strategy, and like also execution of itself, you need to work on other things, and among them, the ones which I found the most important, this is commander's intent, which gives people the comfort to take their own decision. This is the foundation for empowerment. The strategy, so the clarity, what they do and why they do. Goals clarity, to understand how their performance in the given point of time is done. So how the plane they fly is really doing, where it's going, and if it's going up or down, whether it's safe or not safe. So that's all from my side. There were your questions.